This is the first time I've had a deaf student, and certainly I was a little bit anxious about it. I didn't really know how I was going to get across the message to her. Was she going to understand? It was thrown onto me fairly quickly, so yeah, quite apprehensive. After the student had been in the class for just a couple of sessions, I felt quite comfortable, and that was because we had the continuity of the interpreters, and it seemed to work really well. When I first received the students' work and I read what they had to say, I found that the English was not particularly good. All right, I could understand their point, what they were point that they were trying to make, but certainly it didn't read well. But as I said, made the right points, and I think that's what I was looking for in all the written work.
The teachers weren't aware that English was my second language and it was difficult for me. They hadn't come across it before. Because I'm translating from one language to another, it's really hard to understand what's written, and when questions are asked of me, I don't really understand them. I need them simplified so I can understand them.
What I did do on a couple of occasions was actually take the written work to the student and say, tell me more about this, with the interpreter on those class days. And I would say, look, you know, you generally have got the point, but tell me more about this, so that I could tease out a little bit of extra to be really confident that they understood the information. Certainly I still would want her to get to the level expected in that competency to meet all the requirements just like any other student, but just by having a bit more flexibility, which we need to in TAFE. We need to be flexible, we need to look at the learners, their styles, and we need to adapt and give them opportunity to prove their competency in any way that they can.
Sometimes I find it difficult when the teacher tries to write notes on the board and they have their backs turned and I don't really know sometimes what they're saying.
So when we complete this, you'll all be first aiders. A first aider is somebody that is first on the scene when there's an accident or an injury and you deal with the casualty. Welcome everyone. We're starting a new competency today, first aid. Say on the first class I knew that an interpreter was coming, but I didn't realise that there was going to be two, and I also didn't realise that there would be a note taker as well. So it was almost like there was this entourage of people coming in, and I was thinking, oh my goodness, are they going to be watching me and the way I work, the way I teach? Good morning.
Hi. Good morning.
As the year progressed, I found that I built up a bit of a relationship with the interpreters, and again, they did guide me. You know, they would tell me when the student didn't understand something, so that I could maybe change my teaching style a little bit or put it in another way. All right, we're now going to look at the priorities of first aid. Who can tell me what D stands for?
D stands for danger for ourselves and others.
Yes, well done. Good. Now what I want you to do is to turn to your handouts and to start working through those. Could you make sure Natalie finishes her handout? Okay, we've entered a room, we've got a casualty down. We've checked for dangers, we've checked for response. What's the next thing that we need to do? Natalie.
I would make sure that the casualty's airways were cleared, there were no blockages, and that the person was able to breathe.
Yes, that's correct, Natalie. Airways. Now, what you can do, Natalie, is turn to page 5 in your workbook and begin that exercise.
It's so exciting to have interpreters and note takers in the classroom. It means I have full access to the information and makes the experience so much more comfortable. But there's an important point to remember. If you have difficulties with your course, sometimes it's easy to go to the interpreter because they can use Auslan. But it's important to remember that the interpreter's only there to facilitate the communication in the classroom. If you have difficulties, you need to talk to the teacher, the DLO, or the coordinator of the Centre of Excellence. And remember, deaf students in TAFE can do anything. There are no barriers that cannot be overcome. There's always a way.